The world lost more than a star chef when Anthony Bourdain died on June 8, 2018. Fans grieved a guy who united the world through food, travel, and courageous storytelling. Anthony represented more than food. He represented anybody who felt restless, curious, or hungry. His life was far from perfect, despite its idyllic appearance. Olivia Bourdain, Bourdain's ex-wife, kept silent about their troubles for years. We'll walk you through her experience being married to a man whose genius was equaled only by his chaos in this video. Anthony Bourdain was born in Manhattan on June 25, 1956. He was surrounded by intellect, culture, and anarchy from the start. His father, Pierre, was a French Catholic who worked in classical music and spent summers in France. Gladys, his mother, was a tough New York Times editor. With parents like those, Bourdain should have read Proust and played the cello. Avoid sneaking into restaurants and eating oysters from fishermen's boats. Bourdain's Leonia, New Jersey childhood was unusual. He was loved and cared for, yet he envied his peers' wild freedom. While attending Boy Scouts and undoubtedly being instructed to honor the French side of the family, he secretly yearned for more rebellion. On a family vacation to France, young Anthony tried an oyster and was hooked. Bourdain tried Vassar after graduating from Dwight Englewood School in 1973. After 2 years, he traded academia for Provincetown's sweaty, raucous seafood restaurants like the Lobster Pot, its energy. Grit and strange individuals behind the line were Bourdain's new classroom, and he ditched Vassar to dive in. He attended the Culinary Institute of America to improve his talents before graduating in 1978. Bourdain then ran kitchens at Sullivan's and 1/5 Avenue in New York City. He could sear steak and compose a menu, but narrative was his superpower. Bourdain was struggling on Manhattan's Lower East Side in the mid-1980s to become a writer. He sent unsolicited work to Between C and D, a local literary magazine. One of his early pieces was about a cook looking for heroin. His brutal, honest story reflected the instability he observed in the culinary industry, yet he continued. He attended a 1985 writing class given by Gordon Lish, a famed editor noted for his harsh criticism. This experience improved his raw voice, but even with talent, breaking through was difficult. After impressing an editor at Random House, Bourdain signed a minor book deal in 1990. In 1995, Throatbone entered shelves. Bourdain's gourmet murder mystery was smart and witty, but sales were low. He funded his own book tour and walked the streets to promote it. A few years later, his second novel, Gone Bamboo, also failed. That may have ended the dream for most. Bourdain wasn't ordinary. Writing didn't immediately pay off, but it prepared for television. Kitchen Confidential, his memoir, shook the restaurant industry and launched him into the spotlight. The Food Network saw his raw honesty, sarcasm, and appreciation for food and culture. He got his debut performance, A Cook's Tour, in 2002. Simple idea travel, eat everything and talk about it. The show's 2 seasons were merely the start. Anthony Bourdain got his groove around 2005. No Travel Channel reservations. This was no ordinary food show. There was plenty of food, but Bourdain's connection with people made it exceptional. Not nice restaurants. Street cuisine, local traditions, and food anecdotes were covered. He made you laugh and ponder with his unique blend of comedy and wisdom. Bourdain and his crew filmed in Beirut in 2006, which was one of the show's most intense scenes. An ordinary shot became a terrifying one when the Israel-Lebanon conflict began. Bourdain captured the tension, terror, and humanity of expatriates stranded at a motel. Under the guidance of a local fixer called Mr. Wolf after Pulp Fiction's Problem Solver, the crew was evacuated by U.S. Marines. This episode was about survival, resilience, and how conflict can unite people, not just food. It won Bourdain an Emmy nomination and established his reputation as a storyteller who could cover anything. Bourdain's voice was unique. He had a lovely style that could vary from poetry to delightfully obscene, according to Nigella Lawson. Bourdain's private life was a roller coaster, despite his public achievements. Anthony's first marriage to Nancy Podkoski began like a high school romance. After meeting at Dwight Englewood School in New Jersey, Bourdain followed Nancy to Vassar College in New York, drawn to her rebelliousness. Their friendship deepened, and they married in 1985. Nancy supported Bourdain during his early culinary career, helping him rise in the kitchen. Things changed when Bourdain's career took off, especially following Kitchen Confidential's success. Fame, frequent travel, and the spotlight pulled them apart. Nancy, who liked her privacy, didn't like Bourdain's fame. They divorced in 2005 as their relationship began to disintegrate. Even so, Bourdain always praised Nancy and her importance in his life. After his divorce from Nancy Podkoski, Anthony met Italian businesswoman and MMA fighter Adebisa. Bourdain's friend and famous chef Eric Reipert introduced them, thinking they'd be wonderful together. Bourdain and Adevia had chemistry despite their 22-year age gap. Adevia ran Geisha, a New York restaurant. They became fast friends over their restaurant passion. Adevia's path to the U.S. and restaurant industry was unusual. From a small Italian village, she studied to become a dentist before changing her mind and moving to the US. With $300, she became Geish's general manager after working in New York's competitive restaurant sector. She met Bourdain there. Their relationship took off immediately. Her adventure captivated Bourdain, and they became inseparable. Their romance moved quickly. They soon started discussing about tattoos, and by 2007, Bourdain had divorced, married Octavia, and had a child. After Octavia's long restaurant shifts, they talked for hours about her day, strengthening their bond, and Bourdain's business background. Though banal to others, this was a significant method to bond for them. As their romance grew, the couple faced career hurdles. While Bourdain's celebrity drove him farther from home, Octavia worked until she gave birth. The burden of their busy schedules became difficult to balance. Despite everything, their love for cuisine, culture, and their uncertain lifestyles kept them together. Despite loving fatherhood, Bourdain struggled to manage work and family. He traveled roughly 250 days a year for unknown destinations. His marriage began to suffer from his frequent absences. He loved his daughter and enjoyed fatherhood, but the pressure broke his relationship with Octavia. They split in 2016, a difficult decision. Anthony remarried Asia Argento almost shortly after his divorce, much like he did after his first marriage. Bourdain met Asia Argento like a teenage crush. Bourdain was so smitten with her that he gushed, comparing it to his first serious romance, according to his friend Steed. It was obvious they had chemistry, and their relationship grew swiftly. Bourdain, famed for his openness, raved about her in interviews and on Instagram. Bourdain became fully committed as their friendship grew. He vocally supported Argento, especially when she led Me Too. He always supported her when she spoke out against Harvey Weinstein, admiring her boldness. Their relationship went beyond romance. Mutual respect underpinned it. They shared career knowledge. Despite their passion, their relationship had its obstacles. Argento and Bourdain spent extensive periods apart due to their demanding, travel-heavy occupations. They decided to be together while letting each other pursue their own paths. This arrangement worked for a while, but time and distance caused friction. They struggled due to their busy schedules and aggressive personalities. Still, Bourdain seemed happier than ever with Argento. He felt satisfaction and fulfillment he hadn't felt in a long time with her around. Despite not wanting to remarry, he was open to living together, finding comfort in their simple relationship. Bourdain appreciated that Argento recognized and valued his work ethic. They tried a free relationship where each could pursue their passions yet stayed emotionally linked. This arrangement worked at first, but distance and busy schedules caused holes in their relationship. No one expected Anthony's sad demise. Bourdain appeared exhausted, lonely, and dissatisfied with his life in the days before his death. Fame, which he once loved, felt like a cage. He loathed the attention, expectations, and feeling disconnected from his past. He seemed less connected to reality as he became more prosperous. That distance seemed to expand. His connection with Asia Argento was also deteriorating. The passion they previously shared has faded. He was saddened by the allegations of her affair and felt betrayed, especially when he found it happened in a hotel they loved. All the emotions were too much for him. He tried to contact Argento help, but he was ignored. Their once promising relationship had deteriorated into a tiresome back and forth that worsened his isolation. Bourdain seemed to withdraw as the hours went. The emotional toll of his personal issues and job pressures was heartbreaking. Despite his efforts, he felt emptiness and desertion, and his final days were filled with misery. Anthony Bourdain died unexpectedly on June 8, 2018. Chef Eric Rippert, his close friend, found Bourdain dead in his hotel room at Le Chambard Hotel in Cailles, France, while filming parts unknown. Rippert checked on Bourdain after he missed dinner and breakfast. Bourdain had committed suicide, he learned. The news of Bourdain's passing circulated quickly, shocking fans and followers. Many believed Bourdain was invincible due to his adventurous spirit, quick wit, and ability to communicate across cultures. His death was a heartbreaking reminder that even celebrities who bring millions of people delight can battle inner problems. Bourdain's passing devastated many fans, but what followed was surprise. After Bourdain's death, his ex-wife Octavia Buccia revealed their connection, revealing his multifaceted existence. Octavia, Bourdain's ex-wife, reflected on their 2016 separation after his devastating death. In the documentary Roadrunner, she described Bourdain's progressive change after they parted ways. Her once vibrant, adventurous personality seemed to wane as her emotional burden grew. Octavia was reassured when Bourdain sought therapy. It was a good sign, and she thought he was coping. She felt she could step back, trusting he was progressing. However, she regretted not monitoring him more during those important moments. The documentary followed their relationship from their introduction through mutual friend Eric Rippert to their marriage and separation. Their link remained strong after their divorce, making his downward slide even more traumatic for her. Her observations highlight the complicated and frequently conflicting emotions of caring for someone who is struggling, including hope that things are better, guilt of pulling back, and the agony of wondering if more might have been done. Another aspect of Anthony's life rarely discussed is his addiction. Bourdain's addiction was a long-term struggle. He was captivating because of his chaotic, uncensored realism. Bourdain fell into a drug cycle in the 1980s while working in New York City restaurants. The chaos of the restaurant sector fed his addiction, which was unrelenting. He searched his carpet for cracks at his lowest point in despair. Bourdain didn't hide his depravity. When Kitchen Confidential made him famous, he was brutally honest about his years of addiction and sorrow. He was locked in a downward spiral where climbing out seemed impossible. Despite the chaos, Bourdain opted to change. He quit heroin and cocaine but kept drinking. It wasn't a perfect recovery, but it allowed him to follow his passions and give his unique perspective. Even after success, Bourdain's openness to disclose faults made his story accessible. He didn't pretend stopping drugs solved his problems. He openly discussed his melancholy and dark thoughts. His candor comforted many, especially in the high-stress restaurant industry, proof that famous people fought the same demons. In retrospect, his connection with darkness was difficult. Death and suicide were mentioned in his literature and conversations, not sensationally, but as if he were continuously talking to his grief. These were not fleeting ideas, they hinted at a constant struggle. It is likely that his ultimate act was the climax of his lifelong battles.